Varin was a village that sang. It sang from morning until night. The blacksmith's hammer was a drum. The baker's calls were a melody. Children's laughter was the high, sweet notes. Chickens clucked, dogs barked. Cartwheels rumbled on cobblestone streets. Life in Varin was a constant, bustling song. Every sound told a story. Every noise was a sign of life. It was a place where silence was a stranger, a place full of energy. The marketplace buzzed like 1,000 bees. Merchants shouted their prices. Villagers haggled with good humor, the scent of fresh bread mixed with spices. The colors of fruits and fabrics were bright. People moved quickly, always with a purpose, or so it seemed. They talked over each other. They shared news. They shared gossip. It was a lively dance of sounds and sights, a beautiful, noisy chaos. Even the homes in Varin were filled with sound. Families ate together, their conversations loud. Pots and pans clattered in kitchens. Music drifted from open windows. Stories were told. Arguments happened. Forgiveness followed. This was the rhythm of their days, a rhythm they all knew, a rhythm they all shared. It was the heartbeat of their community, loud and strong, and above it all, the great clock tower stood. Its chimes marked the hours. Ding-dong, a steady beat for the village song. It told them when to wake, when to work, when to rest. The clock was part of their noise, a comforting, familiar part. It connected everyone. It was the conductor of Varin's vibrant orchestra. Its voice was a guide, a constant in their ever-sounding world. In this village of 1,000 sounds lived Lyra. Lyra was different. She did not add to the noise. She was a pool of quiet in a rushing river. She moved through Varin like a gentle breeze, often unnoticed, often unseen. But Lyra saw everything. She heard things others did not with her ears, perhaps in the way others did, but with her heart. Her silence was not empty, it was full. Lyra did not speak with words, not like the villagers did. They chattered and called, their voices filled the air. But Lyra's world was made of different sounds, the rustle of leaves, the hum of a bee, the pattern of raindrops on a window pane. These were her companions. She found comfort in the small, quiet things, the things most people were too busy to notice. Her silence was her space, her sanctuary. She watched the baker knead his dough. She saw the care in his hands. She saw the blacksmith's focused eyes, the spark of creation in his work. She noticed the tired lines on her mother's face, the unspoken worry, the deep love. Lyra understood. She understood without a single word being spoken to her. Her observations were her conversations. Her understanding was profound. She felt the village's true rhythm. The villagers knew Lyra. They called her Silent Lyra. Some felt sorry for her. They thought her life was less, poorer somehow, without spoken words. They did not understand her richness. They did not see the depth in her eyes. They did not know the peace she carried. Lyra did not mind. She simply lived. She listened and she waited for what she did not always know. Lyra communicated in her own special way, a way that did not need sound. Her eyes spoke volumes. They could show joy. They could show sadness. They could show understanding. A gentle touch of her hand could comfort a crying child. It could soothe an anxious friend. Her presence alone often brought a sense of calm. People felt it, even if they could not name it. Her silence had a power. She used gestures, simple, clear, a nod for yes, a slow shake of her head for no, pointing to what she needed or what she wanted to share. Sometimes she would draw little pictures in the dust or on a piece of slate. These were her stories, her messages, and those who took the time, they understood. They learned her language, a language of patience, a language of observation. Animals seemed to understand Lyra best. The stray cat would rub against her legs. Birds would sometimes land near her unafraid. They sensed her gentle spirit. They were not bothered by her lack of speech. Perhaps they too lived in a world of quieter understanding. Lyra felt a kinship with them. She felt their trust. It was a pure connection, uncomplicated by words that could sometimes lie. And so Lyra moved through Varin, a silent observer, a quiet participant. She was a part of the village, yet she was also apart from it, like a single, still star in a sky full of swirling galaxies. Her silence was not a void, it was a different kind of presence, a presence that would soon become more important than anyone could imagine. Her unique way of being was a hidden gift. One Tuesday morning, something was wrong, terribly wrong. The sun rose as it always did. The baker started his fires, the blacksmith prepared his forge. But a sound was missing, a crucial sound, the great clock tower. It did not chime. 7 o'clock came and went. No friendly ding-dong. 8 o'clock, silence. The heart of Varin had stopped its familiar beat. The conductor's baton had fallen. A strange quiet spread through the village. Not Lyra's peaceful quiet. This was an anxious quiet, a confused quiet. People opened their windows. They looked up at the tower. Its hands were still, frozen like a photograph of time. Murmurs started, soft at first, then louder. What happened? Why is the clock not working? Fear began to creep into their voices. Their daily song was disrupted. Panic is a fast-spreading weed. It grew quickly in Varin. Without the clock, people were lost. The baker didn't know when to pull his bread. Children didn't know when school started. Appointments were missed. Schedules fell apart. The usual bustling energy turned into frantic, directionless movement. The noise of the village changed. It became sharper, more jarring, filled with worry. The village elders gathered. They scratched their heads. They argued. "It's a sign," one cried. "It's a mechanical failure," another insisted, but no one knew how to fix it. The clockmaker had passed away years ago. He had left no apprentice. The great clock, the pride of Varin. It stood silent, and the village felt a part of itself die with that silence. Their guiding star had blinked out. Section 5. A village adrift in time. Days turned into a blur without the clock. The rhythm of life was broken. People woke too early or too late. Meals were at odd hours. Work was disorganized. The cheerful chaos of Varin became just chaos. Arguments flared more easily. Tempers were short. The missing chimes left a hole much bigger than just the sound. It was a hole in their certainty, in their routine. Shopkeepers found it hard to manage their day. When should they open? When should they close? Farmers bringing goods to market were unsure. They arrived at different times. Buyers were frustrated. The smooth flow of commerce, once guided by the clock's reliable voice, was now a tangled mess. The village, once a symphony, now sounded like an orchestra tuning up, badly, each instrument playing its own discordant tune. Even the children felt it. Their games were less joyful, their routines were gone. School lessons were haphazard. Without the bell to mark time, the day felt endless. Or it rushed by too quickly. They missed the comforting regularity. The clock had been like a grandparent, always there, always reliable. Now that reliable presence was gone, and a sense of unease settled over everyone, young and old. The elders tried to use hourglasses. They tried sundials. But these were not the same. The great clock tower was public. It was shared. Its voice reached everyone, together. These smaller methods were private. They separated people. Varin felt disconnected, adrift. They realized how much they had relied on that single unifying tick-tock, that steady, comforting chime that structured their entire world. They were lost without its song. While the village fretted, Lyra watched. She saw the worry. She felt the growing despair. She too missed the clock's chime. It was a sound that even in her quiet world brought a sense of order, a sense of peace. She looked at the silent tower, then at the troubled faces of her neighbors. Her heart felt a gentle nudge, a call to action, not with words but with doing. One early morning, before the village stirred with its anxious energy, Lyra made a decision. She would go to the tower. She would try to understand. She gathered a small bag, a few simple tools she had seen the old clockmaker use, a little oil, a soft cloth. She knew the tower. She had often sat near its base, feeling the vibrations of its great heart. Now, its heart was still, and she would try to help. She slipped through the sleeping village, a small shadow moving with purpose. She reached the tower door. It was unlocked. No one had thought to guard a broken thing. Lyra stepped inside. The air was dusty. Still, she began to climb the winding stairs, round and round, up and up, higher than she had ever been. Her small feet padded softly on the stone steps. Each step was a quiet promise. The climb was long. For a small girl, it was a mountain. But Lyra did not falter. She was not afraid of the height or the shadows. She was focused, driven by a silent determination. She thought of the village below, of the music that had stopped. She understood that sometimes the biggest problems need the quietest solutions. And so she climbed towards the silent heart of Varin, towards a chance for healing. Lyra reached the top, the clockwork room. Gears stood silent, levers were still. Dust lay thick on the giant mechanism. It looked daunting, complicated. But Lyra was not overwhelmed. She looked, she listened with her eyes. She remembered watching the old clockmaker, his gentle hands, his patient work. She began to clean, softly, carefully, wiping away the years of neglect, one small gear at a time. She found it, a small lever. It was stuck, jammed by a piece of debris. A tiny stone, perhaps, or a hardened piece of old grease. It was a small thing, a very small thing to silence such a great machine. Lyra gently worked at it. Her small fingers pushed and pulled. With a quiet click, the lever moved. It sprang free. A low hum started deep within the clock. A sigh, a whisper of awakening, then a whir, a clunk, and then dong! The first chime rang out, clear and strong. It echoed over the awakening village. Dong! The second chime followed. Heads lifted, conversations stopped. People rushed from their homes. They looked up at the tower. Disbelief, hope. Dong! The sound was back. The heartbeat of Varin was returning. The song was starting again, one note at a time. Lyra, high above, felt the tower vibrate. She smiled, a small, quiet smile. Her work was done. As the chimes continued, counting out the hour, a wave of relief washed over Varin. Cheers erupted. People hugged each other. The anxious quiet was replaced by joyous sound. The clock was alive, and somehow in that moment the village felt more alive too. The familiar rhythm was restored. Harmony was returning. When the initial joy settled, a question arose. Who fixed the clock? The elders climbed the tower. They found no one, only the faint scent of oil and the clock ticking steadily. Then someone remembered seeing Lyra, a small figure, walking towards the tower in the early dawn. Could it be silent Lyra, the girl who spoke no words? Had she mended their broken heart? They found Lyra back in her quiet corner of the village. She was watching children play, a new game, a game inspired by the clock's return. When the elders approached, she simply smiled. She did not seek praise. She did not need thanks. Her reward was the restored harmony, the happy sounds of Varin. The villagers looked at her, really looked at her, perhaps for the first time. They saw not emptiness in her silence, but strength and wisdom. A profound change began in Varin. They had been lost in their noise. They had forgotten the value of quiet. Lyra, in her silent action, had shown them. They started to notice things, the way Lyra noticed things. The beauty in a single flower, the kindness in a quiet gesture. They realized that not all understanding comes from words. Some understanding comes from listening, from being still. The village decided to honor Lyra's gift, not with a loud parade, but with something more fitting. They introduced quiet hours, an hour in the morning, an hour in the evening. During these times, the village would soften its voice. People would walk slower, they would listen to the birds, to the wind, to each other, to the silence. It was a time for reflection, a time for peace, and it brought a new kind of harmony. The great clock tower was still the heart of Varin, but it felt different now. Its chimes still marked the time, but they also reminded the people of something more. They reminded them of Lyra, of her courage, of her quiet wisdom. They reminded them that even the smallest person, the quietest voice, can make a world of difference. That solutions often come not from shouting, but from patient understanding. The villagers decided to give the tower a new name. It would no longer be just the Great Clock Tower. It would be Lyra's Tower, or, as some preferred, the Tower of Whispered Wisdom, because it was Lyra's quiet way that had taught them so much. It stood as a monument not just to time, but to the power of stillness, the importance of listening, the beauty found in the spaces between the noise. Varin did not become a silent village. Oh no, it was still full of life, full of song. But the song was different now. It had more depth, more texture. It had moments of quiet, moments of reflection. The noise was no longer overwhelming. It was balanced. The people of Varin learned that true harmony includes both sound and silence, both speaking and listening. It was a profound lesson, and so the story of Lyra and the silent clock became a legend, passed down through generations, a reminder that sometimes the answers we seek are not in the clamor of the world. They are in the quiet spaces, in the gentle actions, in the listening heart. For it is often in stillness, as Lyra knew, that we find our truest wisdom. The most important messages are often whispered, not shouted, and that is a truth worth listening for, always.